Okay, welcome back to the Hydrogen podcast. And today we have episode 2. No, I'm just kidding. It's the same episode. We're wearing the same clothes. We do laundry, I promise. All right. Yeah, just a few minutes later. That's all. Straight back into it. Kelsey, you're back under the light. How do you? Yeah, the hydro hot seat. How do you feel? Hot. Don't worry. We have some H2O somewhere nearby at all times. That's just how hydrogen rolls. Speaking of hydrogen. Sorry. Guys, be serious. It's a podcast. Be serious.
How does it feel?
Speaking of hydrogen. What made you choose the colour turquoise for hydrogen?
Well, originally the turquoise color came from my unique KHM logo, and it was kind of like a collaborative color choice. To be fair, it was a girl called Emma Henley who helped with my logo. I've got a tattoo of the 4 elements on my chest, and that's like, it reminded me of, like, I don't know if you ever watched Jackie Chan Adventures back a day, Fox Kids, Jakes, nope, too young, but back a day. That's wild. Basically, I had medallions, and I was very obsessed with medallions, the size of the medallion, and obviously that got me the inspiration to get the medallion shape as a logo, first of all, for my website, and then I used that as the 4 elements on my chest. And one of the elements is obviously water. We all know that obviously water is blue. Well, it's actually not blue, but we see it as blue most of the time. But the color turquoise is actually, the meaning of it is obviously the calm and the tranquil, the peace, the protection is under the meaning of it anyways, and that's what Emma kind of like created from what I was explaining to her, from when I was describing myself as a unique artist under hydro, and that became the color, because obviously I like blue as well, but I always like midnight blue originally, but that cyan side of it was always the lighter side that I liked, and it kind of given like an opening, a friendly color, friendly energy, again, peaceful, calm, tranquil side of like how I am as a person. I'm very chill. Those that know me, I'm very laid back, but I still get things done, so I can still protect and still be strong, but also I'll do it in the most calming way. And I've always told myself I wanted to be composed as a human being, but also as a dancer as well, and I like to keep the peace in my movement, in how I think. I tried to panic, and all these things kind of came under one roof, which created the tranquil turquoise color. And to be fair, there was never really much thought about I want it to be turquoise. It just came about, really. So, and we're here today with turquoise, and then I put that color under H1 because that's, I guess, the closest to where I want to be. That makes sense. So yeah, the lighter your logo, the closer you are to being tranquil, I guess. So inner peace. But the other colors are great as well, though. Inner peace.
Yeah.
I have I don't know if it's a question, but I remember we had a session where you kind of broke down the elements of hydrogen, like the states, sorry, not the elements. This is one element. Hydrogen is an element, right? Yeah, it's a molecule and an element. Physics test. And like there was the gas state, the liquid state, and the like more solid ice state. And then we had to like do a choreo based on, we choose first what kind of state we most resonate with at this time in our kind of freestyle, or like where we're naturally inclined to move. And then we did a choreo, and we were like separated into different groups, and that was just like such an amazing session for me, because obviously like I feel that I move between different states, but it was a really good challenge to see how I can like work within those constraints. And I guess it's just like, how did that come about, like or maybe explain, because I didn't really explain what the characteristics
behind,
of each of those states is, or just something about that.
So no, that's a valid question. It's if I'm bing, 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 bing. He said it. But if I'm looking literal at hydrogen and what it represents, then I want to really like, for those that are like, them like trolls on the internet, what are you called hydrogen for? It's like no one knows my backstory as hydro and stuff like that. So I wanted to go literal, but in a more of a creative sense, and like see what I can do to kind of relate dance and my style and the group to the actual word hydrogen. And obviously we know like obviously all the states, like solids, the liquid, the gases, in obviously that element, how it can change the movement, how it looks, all that kind of stuff. That's the same with dance. It's like depending on how you look at or feel about a certain track, or how you move your body will kind of fit into one of them properties. That makes sense. So obviously ice. Well, first things first is you always maneuver through all three regardless. Same way as the properties will always change depending on the temperature in the room. And that's the one thing that resonated me most, because like I looked into it, I was like, this is interesting as a creative process. So I'm like, if I'm going on a stage and the lighting might be different, or the stage might be different, or the audience might be different, that's for me the temperature. It's like, what's the temperature of the room, what's the temperature of the audience, the temperature of the people in the piece. That will change, or the temperature of the track that will change what I create in that space. So for example, the ice being that the hard property, or the solid property, they're very clean and polished, should we say, property. But also if we're looking at it as a point of like, if I put ice in a very warm room, it will slide. Do you know what I mean? So like how a property can move in a different kind of room according to that temperature, as opposed to like a liquid being obviously flowing. It has no end really, if that makes sense. Free flow, extension, like all the words that you can relate to water. And then same with gas, just the evaporating state, the anti-gravity state. So like you never really grounded, if that makes sense. But you can make yourself look grounded even though you're not. So like the man on the moon kind of feeling, it looks heavy until you breathe, and then it's like, oh, like there's breath. Do you know what I mean? Or the reaction, if I was to push a gas, for example, if you could, like what will happen with the atoms and molecules? They will spread. Do you know what I mean? And they all will spread, but it's like looking deeper into the physics really, and the science of like, if I was to create dance and pull it in that sense, what would happen, and then apply that to dance, and you're like, that's the whole piece in itself. And that inspired me a lot to kind of really push the name hydrogen really, in terms of what I am as a style and what I do as a style. And it helped my creative process in terms of like, if I'm gonna push my style in terms of what I create on you guys, and like what's my choreography, because obviously I got hydrography as well, which is my amalgamation of different styles that I've trained in, and how I listen to music and how I interpret music. That's again using them properties without it being a name. But if I look at through them names, you can see the little attributes of each property in my style, and that's for me very enlightening and interesting from a artistic point of view. And those that are learning or figuring out for the first time, it really makes you think about yourself and what you do as an artist, as a dancer, and I guess where you sit from a meditative state as well. Whether you're someone that's very, very calm in the gas state, you just flow through life, or you're like, you get things done, you're very, very structured, or you're just like solid, like however you perceive it as. It's a very interesting way to kind of like analyze, I guess. Yeah.
It is, yeah.
For those who are listening and are kind of interested in hydrogen at this point, how can they get involved in 2026? Is it open? Is it closed? Is it auditions? What's the plan?
Indeed. So yeah, do my first audition since 2022. In 2026, in January, 28th of Jan on a Wednesday. The reason I wanted to kind of do an audition as well, because we've been doing quite a lot of open sessions in the last, say, 2 years, which has been amazing. It brought a lot of new faces into the room. But again, it's kind of like getting that control over the space. It's like who I'm bringing in, the quality control, and also just the energy control as well. Because yes, everyone could have the right vision, but may not be right for the space. And I feel like that's what something I need to be more mindful about when I started to like open the space to everyone, even though I don't. But it's like having an open session as opposed to having an audition. Audition requires you to be there, but you have to want to be there. Open session, it allows you to come when you feel like you're free, and I feel like that doesn't resonate with me, if that makes sense. And I feel like that's what I guess differs me from other artists, is the fact that my drive is a lot different from most, which is why I am where I am to this day, because a lot of us in the room are where we are in our career because of the mindset that you have, and we all relate on that, in that same spectrum of like, you want something, you're gonna go and get it. So I want that kind of drive in the space. So auditions coming up in the new year to kind of see who is about our life really, and who's interested in seeing who's interested in being a part of hydrogen, or who's been watching hydrogen, or who's been inspired by hydrogen, who's been influenced by hydrogen. That hopefully will give me the answer pretty much. And whether they are successful or not, it's giving an insight to like the effect that I've given through hydrogen, and what hydrogen's affected in the scene and industry, and maybe just in the community. So yeah.
Turn up if you are ready.
Yeah. Pretty much.
Do you have any funny backstories or some inside Hydro Ranger jokes? No, it's not a thing, Hydro Ranger. Or just just sharing some
funny
something that happened from, let's say, from this year, because I was a part of this year, so that's why I'm here. And then we can ask.
Funny.
I can think of one from before this year, but
Okay, fine.
You start. Yeah.
I can't remember which exact showcase it was, but there was a show closer to 2022 when I joined, and this was it headphones? It must have been, I think it was headphones.
Yeah.
So do you remember what in Barking?
Yeah.
It was the Barking Abbey showcase. Barking Abbey showcase, a piece called Headphones that we did, and Kelsey and I almost missed it. We almost missed going on stage because we thought we had quite a bit of time. So, and we were watching each piece, and that for that showcase, everyone was doing a different artist. So all their songs that they would have in their set was a certain artist, and so we were tracking it in our heads, and we went, wait, aren't these all Nicki Minaj songs? And by the time we'd registered that we were on next, Sarah, who an OG member of Hydrogen, she's come running out wondering where we are, like, where have you been? We're about to go on. What are you doing? And we were just, the whole time, we just casually watching on the side, enjoying the showcase and being like, oh, we've got ages. And then I was like, wait a minute. We're the bad bitch that came from Sri Lanka. Wait a minute. I think that's Nicki Minaj. You know what I'm saying? Coming from Sri Lanka myself, I feel like I recognise that one. And I was just about to tap in when someone came running out. So I was like, oh fuck.
And you showed up on the right count.
Yeah, you got
no, we ran backstage and we had maybe like a minute or two, and then we didn't miss anything. And to be fair, you had a solo for like the first 5 minutes anyway. So worst case, it would have just been some atmospheric music, and then you would just like stumbled on or something, and it all would have made sense regardless. You know what I'm saying? Hydro adaptation. That's something that we pride ourselves on. So yeah, true comedians. That was a funny moment though.
That was a very funny moment. I forgot about that. I mean, following from that, I think I mean I got loads of like funny moments when it comes to that kind of stuff. But I'll say from a hygiene point of view, I mean, you was there. You didn't do it. No, wait, Goddess. Did Goddess? She didn't do it. Yeah. So we just a hydrogen showcase in 2024. It's not really that funny to be fair, but it was just interesting how we all was on like this on the ball. As when the music, do you remember when? I was all obviously like the manor. Thank you for hosting us. Doing the tech light and all that kind of stuff. Usually we'll do a blackout, but the blackout wasn't told to us when it was happening. So we were there waiting for our blackout, and all we heard is the Goddess soundtrack come on. So it was like, guys, walk on, let's walk on, let's walk on. And the fact that we all walked on and we folded into that hub that we made, and then it's Nick coming through, going through the gap. Take his time in it.
To make his way through the trees, but he had to
Run through. It was like a rush, like, I don't know, like transition slideshow of Nick going through us and then coming out and then coming back. It was very funny. You have to watch it to see, but it was just more of an inside joke of like, we didn't go on stage on time, but we was on the ball, on the money. So professional, you know what I mean?
That kind of thing is somewhat a regular occurrence, like surprisingly. So then at this point, not just from that show, even from before that, whenever we go on stage, I'm telling people on the side, like, if the music plays, just go anyway, or just work on. Or sometimes when it's a piece where you have to like go on, I say, if the music plays too early or like halfway, just stay back. Because if no one goes on and then tech is forced to figure it out, they restart it, that's fine. But if it's like a half go on, half not thing, and you're not on the same page, then it gets a bit techie. And I think that's one of those things that, I mean, you mentioned it a lot in training, being a smart dancer. And as we have stacked up the performances and however many showcases we've been in now, these kind of skills become second nature. And when it comes to like knowing where to be on the stage, transitioning between places, just making sure that like someone stumbles, that's fine, you pick them up, or you stumble yourself, but you know in a couple counts where you're going to have to be. All of this stuff is like, these are skills that you can't pick up so much when you're doing classes or just doing sessions that are out there. And some of these things really do translate into industry. I myself sometimes find myself in rooms with people who are doing like visuals and stuff, and I find that I am actually able to pick up the choreo and the transitions and the formations or whatever all at once, just because you've put us through that so many times. And no joke, this is a drill we do in hydrogen quite often at this point. We learn a choreo in like 15-20 minutes, and then he gives us another 10 minutes and he goes, all right, I want to see like 2 formations, 3 transitions, and put 2/8 of freestyle for each person in between. You've got 10-15 minutes or something, if we're lucky. Have at it. And you know, it's a high pressure environment, and I remember when I was first starting out, it scrambles your brain, but over time, that kind of skill, it just puts you in a place of confidence when it comes to anything else, you know, whether it's a visual, someone else's show, or even just stuff like a solo in class or groups. You know, if you guys are going to training and sometimes doing group videos and feeling nervous, go somewhere where you're forced to do shows. You won't feel anywhere near as nervous when you're used to dancing in front of the, you know, massive lights, crowd of 200 people in a packed out theatre. Like, that gets you used to another level of adrenaline, another level of awareness that you have to have turned on at all times. And then suddenly dancing in front of 15 people in class, you know, 5 of them are your friends. It's nothing, you know. So yeah, little sales pitch for hydrogen there. But if you like to polish that kind of skill, come through.
And can I say that also happens for H3 members, because I've never had to think of writing down 2/8, 4/8. Like I've had to write that down in class, because you were like, and then we're gonna do this for 4/8, and then 2/8 of this, and you just described what we're gonna do, and we had to go into like groups and do it, and it was just such an interesting way of like applying something that I've obviously been using that verbally, but I've never had to like, you know, like you said with the water elements, is like it's another way of like processing the movement. And then it was really interesting because like maybe we were doing the same move, but people were putting like a completely different property to it, and then we had to go into groups and similarly in formations, do a thing, 2 freestyles, you got 10 minutes, let's go, and then show it to each other. So it's very fun, very challenging, but yeah, it happens at H3 as well. And everyone gets it, yeah. And it's a very hydro like property in itself to be like, you're asking the students to be that kind of like malleable within your own training, you know. Like I didn't expect any of that. I didn't know how to write 8, 2, 4, whatever, and then now I do. So yeah.
No. And yeah, to be fair, like what's nice is that's when the word artist becomes very important, because if I was just trying to create a company of dancers, different kind of story, I'll just teach you to follow orders, follow how to be professional and be on a job. But it's the fact that I want to create artists. I would like to see in 10 years time, 5 years time, one of you guys choreographing a piece and it's looking like, yo, who choreographed that? Do you know what I mean? Like, or the way they move around the stage is so interesting. That's different to what I'm used to seeing, because you've taken an idea from one of your mentors and you've adapted it or innovated it yourself. Do you know what I mean? Because you've been challenged in the past. Whereas a lot of, I guess, artists nowadays don't necessarily challenge themselves because it comes easy to them. But sometimes there's a pro and a con to finding things easy. Is you stay in your lane or you stay complacent in that space because it's easy for you, rather than let me try and challenge myself because this is too easy now, or I can make a piece in one session if I have to, but let's make a piece that resonates with this type of audience, or let me try and change the fact that let me try and do lighting first before I do choreography, or let me make choreography first and then pick the song after, like stuff like that, where it's making me think, makes me question what I'm creating, which is again an artistic trait. And then that also questions my students or the dancers that are in the piece to why I picked a certain thing. What's my role in this piece? Why did I get picked? It's the same with acting, like it's the typecasting. Why did I get picked? Every actor can act, but certain actors act better with each other because of like chemistry and certain things as well. So it's why did I get picked for this role? And we had an interesting discussion before we got in here as well about why you get chosen for certain things. There's always a thought process in my head about why I choose certain people for certain things. There's a backlog or a certain history that I've seen a certain habit of you do in a certain room, and I'm like, oh, interesting, noted. And that's my notepad of like, from behavioral traits where it can lead to eventually, whether it's teaching, whether it's assisting, whether it's you know what, you'll be good for as a therapist, or you'll be good at training somebody, or anything that comes to mind is because of a thought, or I've seen proof of it in a session or on stage, like being able to adapt on stage. Just like that quick problem solving of like, I know if things go tits up on stage, you're good, I ain't gonna worry about you. It's more so about, it's like that plan B and plan C about certain people in the room because of how you prove yourself in a space, if that makes sense. So just kind of encouraging that artist trait in a room, knowing to always challenge yourself to be uncomfortable so you can be comfortable in the actual job or the actual space. Do you know what I mean? And that's one thing I hold my hands up for. I was never comfortable in my training. I've never been not challenged, and if I have not been challenged, it's because I found it so easy from being challenged. If that makes sense. So it's always helped one or the other. So it's encouraging that with everyone in hydrogen. So when you guys leave hydrogen, it's like people know, oh, you must be from hydrogen because you operate like this. And that's something that I've again been inspired by Boy Blue. Is people always knew if he was from Boy Blue because of how he trained, or he went to a job, this guy's on his stuff, or he's fit, or he just knows his counts so well, even though it's not his choreography, because he's been through the trials and tribulations from rehearsals, from just doing a show in the community center, because that was serious to Ken. Do you know what I mean? So it's like taking that same method and putting it in my own space and then applying it to what we do, which then makes you think a certain type of way, and it just kind of like reflects onto people in the room of like, if I'm not serious and you are, I'll be like, I need to step up because I can't be in this room when you're being serious. Kelsey's not even in the room and it's like everyone's serious. Like this is wild, and that's what we want. That's what I would like to create rather than just followers. Do you know what I mean?
We've had quite a few guest teachers come in, and they often are showing us, the style that they've trained for a long time, teaching us some foundations. What are 3 styles that we've never had come in that you would put on your bingo card for 2026? 3 dance styles. And don't feel pressured to say anything that, don't. But just go for, yeah.
I'm hot right now. So the first one, and to be fair, is one of my first on the list right now, is Afro. Shock. Ding 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 ding.
That'll be interesting to try.
But and it's you know what I mean? No, but honestly, like if I'm looking at the caliber of my movement as well, a lot of it stems from that Afro-centric like movement, caliber, spirituality, undulation in the hips, the back, shoulder, everything, chin. But yeah, I've got a lot of Afro influences around me, and luckily they're all booked and blessed, so they just don't come. But next year, 2026, we're gonna make sure of that. So Afro for sure. I think.
What dance school? I don't think we've officially.
Funny enough, speak about
Oh.
that. We have dance
Oh.
will come in as well.
Oh,
Indeed, already been.
Leah knows.
Nah. I say she's not old school. She can do both. She can do both.
Do both.
So yeah, 2026 as well. Come in. So that's definitely confirmed for sure. To you, well, you guys didn't know. You guys didn't know.
Exactly. That's the question.
This guy.
Yeah, two more.
Afro dancehall and what was it? We mentioned about actually getting some jazz technique involved because I've seen a few Hydra members doing jazz that do my style, and I'm like, interesting. Like this suits you. Like, and I think also from my background, when I did jazz for a bit, like it definitely helped me with my strength, my coordination, my lines, also just my posture personally, and understanding the difference between that and just going into like a whole broke up back situation. So jazz from a conditioning point of view, for sure, I want to get that involved in the space. But if you really want a fourth one, looking at, I mean, as its own session, because it makes sense, and you probably think I've done it already, but waving at its own session, because I do it a lot, I don't teach it often, so waving, yeah. So whether I teach it or someone else does, yeah, it will be coming.
January 28th auditions. Is this for H3, H2, H1? And also, I'm just curious from like, because I don't know how H1 exactly is. Like we talked about, level and like what to expect. But like, for example, in our sessions, like you've been telling us, this is something that I really want to implement more in 2026. So I'm going to keep myself accountable, like to note things a lot more and like, we have our own, like you said, H3 is like, we can come from our different perspectives and decide where we're going to go, but you need to have that goal for yourself. Like you need to know, and you said this last session as well, of like you need to know where you're going and the differences of where we are in the session, like that's why there is that space exists, but you need to know, and if you don't know, then like this isn't the space. Like it's a difference between like having the options and then just like having fun in an open session. Like that's not the class. So like noting down a lot more, and I'm just curious, like is that also in H1? Like is that also the same kind of like time is given to whether that's like foundational terminology or like we said, like these kind of exercises where you write down things and or when we have guests come in who speak about the industry, and then like obviously writing our notes about the questions that have come up in class. Or if we have like a cipher, things that came up, like you're like, okay, take a minute, take 2 minutes, like write down things that came up from this cipher. So so the two questions: what exactly is the audition, and then the kind of specifics of H3 and H1.
Cool. What I expect is again just the want and the why you're coming, really, because again a lot of people want to do a lot of things but don't know why they're doing it. So it's me putting an opportunity out for people to come and train on hydrogen, knowing the fact that they want to be there, and it's very hard for someone to know that I've not been there yet. And I think the kind of proofs in the pudding in terms of what I've been creating is nothing. It's not like a joke thing kind of thing. It's like I want to create art. I want to push students. I can be hard, but I can also be like nurturing, making sure that you get to your place you want to be in the best way fit at the time. So it's not being super militant, but it's kind of nurturing my crew to be the best they can. And I feel like if I'm going to do that for people coming to audition, they have to want to be there, because I'm very funny with the word feedback, for example. It's like, I would like feedback. I'm like, I don't think anyone deserves feedback unless they put the time into it, into actually training for themselves, so they know when they get feedback it makes sense. Because sometimes you can give feedback to someone and it's like, what does that even mean? Like, do you know what you just did? Do you know what I mean? Like, and obviously I'm from a different generation of feedback where you don't ever ask feedback, you just be told. that's rubbish. Or you do this and that's it. You ask, you get asked, you're told to go and do one. Do you know what I mean? So it's like the asking for feedback situation is very, very like from the self-reflecting side of it, it's like me writing down my notes is my feedback. That's my feedback. It's your analysis of yourself. So if you're not writing down your own information, then you're missing out on your own feedback. So if I was to give you feedback and you look back at your notes, say that, oh, that makes sense. Like if you can go off of that. Do you know what I mean? Rather than just relying on what I'm saying, because I could be talking on my ass. Who knows? I could be talking on my ass and you will never know because you're not looking at yourself.
There is sometimes a lot of chat shit in hydrogen.
Yeah, literally.
Occasionally. As you like to
That's
say.
another key word. If you hear me saying it, I'm generally chatting a lot of rubbish. And I'll admit it. Do you know what I mean? Sometimes I'm like, what did I just say? But it's a thing of like, I would only want to say things that make sense. So if someone asks me for feedback and I don't believe what I'm saying, I'm just gonna say it. I want to say I haven't got nothing to tell you, personally. And it's like, and if I do have something to say, but I don't tell you, it's because you're not ready to hear it. One of the two. And I think that's the biggest thing is people don't want to hear feedback. They want to hear self-praise and that kind of stuff to kind of get them feeling better about themselves, but they don't want the truth. And I can give truth. And it's not about trying to raise egos right now. It's about making sure we create great artists, great dancers in the space, great human beings. So if you're doing something wrong, I'm going to tell you. And it's like, that's what I want in a space. So in audition, if you're not ready for that, don't come, personally. But if you are and you want to be pushed like that, then come. And if I don't say it, someone will. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, it's keeping everyone accountable in the space. So when we go on stage, for example, that's a teamwork thing. It's like, if you down stage, that's carrying everyone. If someone falls over, if someone messes up a count, if someone doesn't do their homework and remember this choreography on stage and they mess up, that's putting everyone in jeopardy in space, and that can injure someone, that can take someone's focus somewhere else. It's selfish, personally. So it's like making sure you come accountable to, when you go to a space, you know why you're there, and you know there's a responsibility on your shoulders once you are accepted into the space. And I think that's the way that people need to understand when you join a crew. It's not about the name, it's about you as individual having accepted into a space. And that's from my journey as from being in a crew. And you couldn't be in more than one crew because they'd be like, it's like East and South. You can't go to East and then be in South. You get juked up. So it's like different now, obviously, in dance. Like you'll get battled. You'll battle like in a battle setting, but like still, it's heated. It's a lot. It's like there's tension between that, and that's what created the rivalry, but also created the creativity of we had to be better than this person because you was patriotic to your team, your crew, which made you better in itself, but also patriotic. Do you know what I mean? So everyone had someone's back. Everyone made sure that they were supporting each other, and we made sure that we lifted each other up when we were down and stuff like that. So again, all these things are built up in this space. So if you're auditioning for ego, it's not for you. Do you know what I mean? I'm not going to rub your ego in this space because I've got my own career to deal with. I've got you guys that are been pushing for how many years to get to where you are and put so much work into your space. If someone comes in and interrupts that, it's very easy for me to do this. Don't need that. Do you know what I mean? So if you're adding to the space, great. If you're not, it's one of them ones.
And for people that do audition, is it a sort of like, how does the leveling system, like, how does it work when they do audition? Is it everyone's seen across the board, and then do you decide like whether people are going into H1 or 2 or 3, or is it everyone starts at a certain place and then over time there's certain adjustments made, or how would it work? Just for people who are curious.
Yeah, that's a valid question. Another one.
Valid
I love valid questions.
Can we get a valid question counter, by the way?
Yeah, whole font and everything.
Which ones were
Place it
not
right
valid?
here.
Valid question.
No, I was debating this with myself, of course, about like whether I trial people in the space of H3, and then if they go into H2, H1, then eventually that'll be the case. But no, I feel like my trial is you being in the space of like where I think you're at. So if you come to audition and I feel like you should be in H1, go to H1 personally. And it could be that, and a lot of people will be against that, the fact that they haven't put their time into it yet, but that time being in that space of where they should be will tell me the answers I need. That makes sense. And again, audition can only tell you so much, which is completely fine. But sometimes some people need to be thrown in the deep end to actually make them work, or some people need to be humbled to make them work. One of the two. and I feel like that's what both the groups will be. And sometimes people will be going too fast with their work and kind of need to slow down and focus on one thing. So it's like I'm looking at a certain bunch of people and be like, okay, what do you need right now from the first analysis? If I'm wrong, then I'll adjust it. But I'm gonna look at it from a audition point of view, because I was debating whether to make hydrogen audition again, but I said that'll be a later date, some other date of sorting that out. But for those coming in, new energy into both spaces, making sure that when they come in, they just come into the space that's already been created already, and then I can adjust the space later on if I need to, for those that have been there long way in already, where they need to be next. Plus, any showcases coming up, if they were to do a showcase, that's a thing of like, let me see what you're saying, and then kind of go from there pretty much. So, yeah, kind of gonna leave it. I'm gonna leave it like that and see how it goes, because this is the first audition in 2.5 years, 3 years. So, yeah, it can go very, very wrong, or it can go very right. So, yeah, but it'll go right.
Clarification question. You mean both spaces?
As in H1 and H3.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Because they're on
separate days. Yeah.
Yeah.
Valid question, or valid statement. Sorry. Another one. Valid statement. She's had enough. H1 slash H2 sometimes are on Tuesdays, and H3 slash H2 is on a Wednesday. I can't afford to do a third day yet, because there's not many days in the week. But eventually there might be a third day. But all future things to come in terms of just like levels and spaces for individual training, whether, because basically I would like to do improver beginner general improver session on its own, so I can work on intermediate and advanced on a separate basis. That's the future goal for hydrogen, because I think it's very important to have a space for general levels on their own, because it is great to put intermediate in a general level session, but again, overwhelming sometimes can create anxiety, and not everyone can handle that. So, and also I can teach in a very different way to the way I do in intermediate and advanced. So, and plus it creates more depth in a beginner and general session as well. So stuff like this makes more sense. So when if they were to improve and become intermediate and advanced, they're even more intermediate and advanced than what I was doing 4 or 5 years ago. So that's the future goal for now. But for now, it's intermingling advanced on their own and intermediate and general are together, and then improvers are also incorporated within that. But the aim is to get them up to par with the general intermediate, and hopefully stay like that. Yeah.
This is one more about yourself, and specifically dance in industry.
Mm-hmm.
Today you sit here with, I think, over a decade of experience professionally. And you know, that's taught you many things that you use day to day to help yourself in rehearsals, work, etc.
Mm-hmm.
Tomorrow you forget everything. You're 18 and you've got the whole dance industry ahead of you as it is today. The only thing that you have is a book that you today wrote in, and there's 3 things in there that you could tell yourself, that you could leave for yourself.
3.
All right, just 3 things
I can tell myself
that you can tell yourself, and this is based on the wealth of experience you have so far, and the fact that you know the current state of affairs in the industry. What would you put in that book?
Great question. It's a great metaphor.
Yeah.
No pressure.
Let me put this in my book.
This is the
legacy.
Kelsey biography.
Yeah, literally the first page before the contents. So I think the first one, and much as it's cliche to say, I'm not sure this even makes sense, but trust your insecurities. Does that make sense? Trust what I think, like what I would like to do and think I can't do. Trust that is the case, so I can work on it, if that makes sense. Because I think this, in a nutshell, it's like, it's very easy to, one, it makes it more easier hearing like mentors and teachers and parents tell you you can't do something because of their wisdom and their knowledge and their years in just life. Trust trust yourself, basically, because yes, they are correct. They've seen a lot, but trust what you have to say. It's just about trust yourself, learn how to communicate it. I think the communication is the biggest one. I think communication is probably should be number one, personally. Learn to communicate in all platforms. I think is the biggest one. And then trust myself, trust the inner Kelsey, the young Kelsey, and learn and listen as much as you can. Learn and listen as much as you can. I think I spent most of my years listening to people and learning. I didn't say one thing, and I've been fine with that. And I've been told I'm very quiet and passive and shy, but because I was listening, and it looked like I wasn't listening, or I was just very what's the words? Not present, or it's kind of going over my head. But really and truly, the whole time I was just taking in everything they're saying and just noting it down in the back of my head. And that's why I've got a lot to say now, because it's only coming out in the last 5 years of everything I know, if that makes sense. So yeah, communication is definitely number one. Trust yourself and learn listen and learn, and be okay with all three, I think. And that will ultimately, with whichever path you go down, whether you dance or not, it will do success to you in your avenue if you are looking to brand yourself or be your own entity in your legacy, or trying to build yourself as a comfortable human being. Especially in this artistic world, it's very easy to just not believe in yourself and have no faith in yourself. It's trust, communicate, and learn and listen. So yeah.
I actually like that you termed it trust your insecurity, because it's like intuition also comes from like a really vulnerable part, and also there's the difference between like intuition and moving from like putting yourself in a situation is bad and is like not good for you, and you're going on a journey that is like disrespecting yourself, like you know your goal, but how you're getting there is not actually respecting yourself, because your intuition would tell you you can have that goal, but you need to be open about the how and trust your intuition, and that comes also from like this really vulnerable part of you, which is a bit of an insecurity. It's like that I have to just make my own how, you know, and it's like my own vulnerable path. So and that's the intuition. That's like it's not moving from anxiety and from I'm putting myself in situations that I actually shouldn't be in, that you know people are telling me I should do this or I should be doing. It's like, no, I'm trusting this thing that it's scary, and that's why it's an insecurity, but actually it's the right way for me to get to this goal, because it's my intuition. Like my gut feeling is telling me this is how it's.
Do this to get to this.
Yeah.
It's the narrowing down or creating the proof of like, this is why I need to do this, because it's going to help me do this, or like me doing this is going to make me learn about this. When I didn't want to do this and it makes me feel uncomfortable, I'm going to do this because this taught me how to deal with that, and so on. And some people might say this is a waste of time, just do that, but I'm like, no, this is going to tell me all the traits I need to do or I need to have, so when I get over there, it's like bulletproof. I can get through the lies or the manipulation or the scams or all the other words that can be very, very powerful on this podcast. But it's like, it's giving the wisdom without ruining self and being vulnerable in the wrong rooms. That makes sense. I know when to be vulnerable and I know when not to be vulnerable. I know who I can be vulnerable with and who I can't be vulnerable with, and it's knowing how to do that and how to pace yourself in that space, because this world's very manipulative, and it's like I don't like playing on that. So it's like them things were definitely a base in my career of like I saw a lot of it, and because again being from I'm obviously a male in the scene, it's very different from being a female. It's like there's a lot of power on the male side, of course, but a lot less of us. So it's very easy to be put in a certain position without wanting to be there. and it's knowing how to deal with that power if you have it, and how to regulate it if it comes down to a thing of you need to protect yourself. What do you know to protect yourself and the people around you? And again, knowledge is power. I know how to communicate myself. I know how to communicate with people around me properly and correctly. And if I need to just listen, I'll just listen. But I'm learning at the same time. So if I need to go into a situation again to rectify something or help somebody else out in a situation where they might be in a similar situation as me, I can help them out because I've listened prior from a moment that has been so detrimental to their career or their life. And that's what's ultimately helped me survive this career of, again, like, this is a very hard and humbling, vicious scene. Do you know what I mean? Industry. Not everyone survives. It's very, very few of us that survive in this industry, especially in the dance industry. And financially, mentally, spiritually, like, there's not much that comes out of it. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, if you're holding on to this career, you need to have that self of like understanding of like, I know what I want to do, I know what I want to be around, but I need to understand my insecurities for me not to be, for me not to bury myself, basically. As deep as that really is, like, you don't want to bury yourself in a hole and like ruin yourself because of everyone above me saying you can't do this and you got to do this. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, those that are new in the industry, new in the scene, graduates, like, or get into dance, it's making sure you trust self. Like I said, like, it's learn as much as possible, like, really analyze around you just so you understand your path and understand your circle, understand where you're training, who you're learning from. All these things are very, very important. And yeah, hopefully you have a very successful career.
For those out there who are also thinking of maybe one day or soon starting their own collective or making their own crew or group, are there any tips you'd give?
Do it for the right reasons. And do it with the thought of there's a fat amount of responsibility on your shoulders. It's not about you anymore. It's about everyone. It's about the community. It's about legacy. You as an entity are separate to that. So if you're doing it for ego, don't think about creating a crew collective, because it's not going to work or won't last very well. But ultimately, yeah, it's do it for the right reasons, because that will then carry your legacy, and they will carry legacy for you because you're creating it for a positive reason. So that's my main advice.
All right, well then we can do another sign-off from the Hydrogen crew. Second sign-off of the episode 1.5 over here from Vinu, Kelsey and Danny. Thank you very much for listening. If you've listened this whole way through, then you must have so much spare time. But that means you have enough spare time to like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell, follow Hydrogen UK on Instagram, go on YouTube, look at all the videos, try and find Kelsey doing jazz funk. There's some videos out there, just have a look. And yeah, we'll catch you next time on episode 2.